Once upon a time, there was a king who loved to look at himself in the mirror. He had multiple closets full of clothes, and he really got a charge out of admiring himself, all dressed up in the mirror. His servant, however, was concerned about the king's subjects, multitudes of people in his kingdom who were living and dying in dire poverty. The servant had told the king of the people's plight, but the king never had taken the time to consider their suffering. He was too obsessed with his own image in the mirror. So the servant got an idea. He cut a hole in the wall of the palace where the mirror usually stood. And the next time the king came to admire himself in the mirror, he saw instead the people outside his royal walls. He saw them in their suffering, in their oppression, in their poverty. The king's heart melted and he repented. He pledged to help because for the first time, instead of seeing himself, he had seen the world outside his walls. Welcome to TV, Tennessee Valley Church. This week we are on Guntersville Lake at the Marshall Baptist Retreat Center, where every Sunday during the summer people gather by land and by water to worship at church on the lake. Today we're going to talk about churches going beyond the walls. Hear these words about Jesus from Matthew chapter 9.
Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field."
There are three powerful messages from this text that every church should pay attention to. One, Jesus went. Someone observed that Jesus didn't put a sign on a palm tree and say, "All those willing to be disciples, come to my place at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Refreshments will be provided." No, Jesus went to where the people were. Two, he saw. He didn't look beyond people. He beheld them. He really saw them. And when he saw them, he had compassion on them. Three, he said that you and I, as Jesus' followers, need to get out there, out into the field. I have to say, today's TV church message is different from most. As you might know, I'm retiring as the pastor of First Baptist Church of Huntsville and thus from TV church. May 10 will be my last Sunday and I'll be gone for 2 weeks in between now and then. So, as I consider the future of the church I lead and the future of churches in general, I want to invite you to pay careful attention today, especially if you are a Jesus follower and part of a church, or maybe if you're looking for a church. Let's talk about what makes a church great. A great church doesn't stand around like that make-believe king looking at itself. By that I mean, a great church doesn't define its success by its financial figures and organizational structures. A great church does not judge itself by its attendance figures or the numbers of clicks on its website. A great church does not just admire the excellence of its programs and facilities. A great church keeps its eye on those things to be sure they're all important, but financial figures and organizational structures and attendance figures and website clicks and excellent programs and facilities, well, they're not the focuses of a great church. A great church, a church whose heart beats with God's heart, keeps its focus on the world. A great church has holes in its walls. I'm obviously thinking ahead to the days when I'll be retired, and I care about the future of the church I lead. But not just that church. I care about churches, period. Church leadership is a relay For a season, I've had the baton in my hand. I've tried to run my leg of the race faithfully. But the race was never about me. It's about the mission. And when a runner passes the baton, the runner doesn't cease to care what happens in the race. No, he or she keeps watching. He or she keeps hoping, keeps cheering. And when I pass the baton, I will not cease to care about how the race is run after me, because the race still matters and the outcome still matters for our church and for your church. I want to tell Rick Richardson's story. He was 6 years old when one Friday his mom and another mom drove their combined 6 kids a couple of hours to the beach for a day of fun. On the way home, they were piled into a station wagon, singing a little church song about Noah's Arky Arky, when one of the girls asked where Chris was. Chris was Rick's 3-year-old little brother. A quick search revealed Chris was not in the station wagon. Rick said, "Mom, Chris isn't here." "What?" she screamed. Then she hit the brakes, did a U-turn that Batman would have been proud of, and raced back to the beach. What should have been a 30-minute ride, Richardson said, was a 15-minute ride. They arrived at the beach and ran to the lifeguard stations asking about a lost 3-year-old. Finally, Richardson's mother and little brother saw each other from a distance. It was like a scene from a movie, he said. Each called the other's name and ran through the sand into each other's arms. Rick Richardson tells that story to ask of church people, are we just singing church songs and enjoying the fellowship? Or do we actually care who isn't in the station wagon? People call the South the Bible Belt. And yet, even here, if churches were station wagons, well, there are lots of folks not in any of them. And there are more like that every year. Some of us church folks don't seem to see them. We just stand and look in the mirror. We admire how well our church is doing with its attendance and money and such things. Or maybe we're panicking about how poorly we're doing with our attendance and money and such things. Either way, we're just looking in the mirror. Come on, we can do better than that. Let's look beyond our walls. Invite people in. It's pretty simple. If you're part of a church, invite other people. When we lived in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, Devonda Edlin was very active in our church. She was our babysitter and a good friend. Devonda's husband, Charlie, was not involved in church. A nice guy, but not a follower of Jesus. Carrie, my wife, and Charlie often teased each other good-naturedly. She often invited Charlie to church. Sometimes Carrie would say, "Charlie, there's a pew at church with your name on it." "I've never seen a pew with my name on it," he'd respond. "Well, there is," Carrie would answer. And then one night, Charlie actually showed up at church. We were having a children's program, and Charlie came to see his kids. Carrie looked back and saw him standing in the foyer. Well, she grabbed a pen and a piece of paper and wrote Charlie. She ran and laid that piece of paper on a pew and went to the door to escort him in. She brought Charlie up to that pew and showed him. There it was, a pew with Charlie on it. They had a good laugh over that. We moved as missionaries to Nigeria a couple of years later. Charlie had not come back to church very often. He never made the decision to follow Jesus. And then, while living in Nigeria, we got a postcard from Russia. It was from Charlie. He was on a mission trip with his church. At the end of the message, he wrote, "I might not be here if someone hadn't put my name on a church pew." Charlie had come to know Jesus. He'd gotten involved in his church and even became a deacon. Now there he was on a mission trip. Because someone cared that he wasn't in the station wagon and invited him in. Invite people in, but don't just invite people in. Some people, Well, they just won't come. So go, get beyond your church's walls. Get out there. My favorite painting of the Lord's Supper is not the famous Da Vinci painting where everybody's seated and everything looks in order. It's the Paolo Veronese version of the Lord's Supper from the 1600s. In the Veronese painting, the Lord's Supper takes place out in the marketplace. Jesus and His disciples are out among people who never would have fit in that controlled environment of the Da Vinci painting. They're outside the upper room, outside the circle, among people who are different, outside the walls. So for those of us who are church people, let's take the church Jesus loves to where so many of the people Jesus loves actually are. I'll talk a little more about that when I come back, and I'll tell you my favorite story.
Let me be filled with kindness and compassion for the one for whom you love and gave your Son for humanity. Increase my love. Help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lines and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Oh, how you love us. From the homeless to the famous and in between. You formed us and you made us carefully. 'Cause in the end, we're all your children. So help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Let all my life tell of who you are and the wonder of your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who you are. You're wonderful and such a good Father. Oh, let all my life tell of who you are and the wonder of your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who you are, that you're wonderful and such a good Father. Oh, that you're wonderful and such a good Father. Help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel
Welcome to beautiful Lake-Guntersville. We're at the Marshall Baptist Association. I'm here with the director, Jeff Martin. Thank you for letting TV Church come here today.
It's a joy to have y'all today.
Jeff, this place will come alive in a few weeks because this is where you have Church on the Lake from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Tell us about Church on the Lake.
Church on the Lake started in 1956, so this is the 70th year of Church on the Lake. 55 of those years have been right here at the Marshall Baptist Retreat Center. And it started out of a need for people that vacationed here who lived in Huntsville or Birmingham. They needed a place to have church. They didn't want to miss church every weekend, so they started Church on the Lake just in their backyard at the lake, and it continued to grow and over the years. And in 1971, they came here and started having services at the Marshall Baptist Retreat Center.
And those of us who lived in the Tennessee Valley for years, we know how important the lake is in the summer.
It is. The lake is king here in the summer, so it's a wonderful place to have church. Average attendance would probably be around 55. We've seen as many as 250 people here on special event Sundays for church. But we'll have anywhere from 2 to 6 boats that will be tied up out here at the dock, and then the rest will come by car. Even have a few that come by golf carts. You've heard of business casual. Well, we're lake casual for church on Sunday mornings.
You all have different speakers every week, and actually starting with Billy Bell Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. He'll be here on, I think May the 24th is Memorial Day weekend, and he will speak, kind of kick things off for us. And just a variety of different kind of speakers that come each week. I know Lee Marshall from Kids to Love, she's always comes. John Kroll from the Big Oak Boys Ranch, he always closes us on Labor Day weekend. We've had Alabama chaplains, Auburn chaplains, Cowboy Church, they'll bring their horse. That usually is on Father's Day. So a very special lineup every year of different speakers and preachers and teachers.
Pastor Travis is talking today about taking church outside just the regular church building. You all have really done that here.
They really have. And that really embodies the spirit of church outside the walls, because it all began as a need to worship and to disciple their children while they were on vacation. And so with discipline, they were able to do that Sunday after Sunday, and it just continued to grow over the years.
Sometimes we just want to plant that seed, which you've been a pastor for years, so you understand the importance of that.
Absolutely. And you never know what people carry away from the service and what kind of seed is planted. And I noticed during my pastorate, how many times would parents call and say, wow, my child got saved last night, or they want to talk to you, what you said 3 weeks ago, or what the Lord said to them 3 weeks ago really made an impact on them, and they're ready to trust Christ. And so we know that that's happening here week after week, because the Church on the Lake is trying to stay biblically focused and bring glory to God in everything they do.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Y'all are really touching lives here and taking church outside the building here at Lake-Guntersville. Thank you.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you my favorite story. In 1911, a little boy named J.D. was born in a coal mining village in western Virginia. Soon, his dad moved to Sand Mountain, Alabama, where his dad became a sharecropper. J.D. left school after his 6th grade year and was 18 years old when the Great Depression hit. He hoboed and fought and partied his way across the South. When I knew him, he had a gold tooth where the original tooth had gotten knocked out in a fight. About 1946, J.D. was married with a son and a daughter. But he met another woman at work. They became romantically involved, and he ran off with her, abandoning his wife and kids. He sent a little money back to help support his son and daughter, but not much. His wife and children were devastated. I spoke with his daughter 6 decades after he left home, and she wept as if it had happened the day before. J.D. and the woman he met at work were married and moved to Anniston. J.D. had not been in churches except for weddings and funerals and was not a follower of Jesus by even the greatest stretch. Candidly and sadly, because he had little education and few social graces, lots of churches wouldn't have wanted him. J.D.'s wife was a Christian, but she admitted she wasn't very faithful at the time. And then, somewhere around 1950, a church in Anniston decided to hold what they called a tent revival. So they rented a vacant lot downtown, put up a carnival-like tent, invited a traveling evangelist, and planned a series of services. A co-worker of J.D.'s, a member of that church that was holding a tent revival, invited J.D. to a service. Since going to a tent wasn't exactly like going to a church, J.D. and his wife went. And something happened. That fire-breathing, pulpit-pounding, Bible-waving preacher put the hay down where the cows could get it. He spoke of sin and salvation in language that grabbed J.D. by the heart and wouldn't let him go. J.D. and his wife kept going back night after night, and then after the service one night, J.D. couldn't sleep. In the middle of the night, he called Bartow, his brother-in-law, who was a pastor. That pastor, with big hands, broad shoulders, and a tender heart, drove over to J.D.'s house and explained what it means to be changed, to be saved, to be reborn, to become a follower of Jesus. They knelt in the small living room, and J.D. threw himself on the mercy of God. He prayed through his tears for God to forgive him and to change his life. God answered his simple prayer, and J.D. became a moral, ethical, loving, devoted follower of Jesus. He was radically changed. I have a personal interest in that story. The strapping pastor who drove over in the middle of the night and prayed with J.D. was Bartow Mason, my uncle and one of my heroes. J.D., the man with the rough history whose life was transformed, was my wonderful father. Maud, the woman he met at work, was my wonderful mom. I know God can do anything, but it frightens me to think of who, what, or where I'd be, and even if I'd be, had my father not had that life-transforming experience. That was a defining moment in my life, although it happened long before I was born. Several years would pass between that tent revival and my birth, and yet that tent revival changed my life. As corny as it sounds, there are lots of JDs out there. Not only are they not in the proverbial station wagon, they aren't likely to come to us. We're going to have to go to them. Granted, a 1950 tent revival is not likely to be as effective as it was then. But please, for the sake of our world and all its JDs, let's always be tent revival kinds of churches. Whatever your church is, keep looking and going beyond your walls.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. life, you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. Oh, and all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, and your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. And your goodness is running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Boone, Minister of Missions at First Baptist Huntsville. To be a follower of Jesus means that you're on mission. God calls all of us to join our hearts with God's heart for the world. I hope that you'll join us as we seek to be the church in the heart of the city, with a heart for the region and for the world. You can visit the missions page on our website to find different ways to serve right where you are, or you can join us as we travel outside of our city and throughout our world. You can also email me at tim@fbchsv.org. I'd love to hear from you.